Hello, I'm Jack Barron, host of Travels with Jack on Access Framingham TV, where guests share with our audience a recent trip, a vacation, a cruise, or maybe a day trip right here in New England. You'll see their photos and hear about the exciting places they have visited. On this month's show, I'm very pleased to welcome Amy Dane once again. Amy travels quite often, and she has visited Travels with Jack several times to share some of her trips with you. In 2014, she visited Norway, the land of trolls, Vikings, treasures, and some of the most beautiful scenery on Earth. What parts of the world have you visited? Please be my guest on Travels with Jack. Share your travel experience with our viewing audience. Just contact us here at Framingham Television and let us know you'd like to be a guest. You can phone AFTV at 508-875-5434, or you can send an email message to info@accessfram.tv. Our associate producer will contact you to make arrangements for you to be on our show here on Access Framingham TV. If you don't live in Massachusetts, we would be pleased to assist you with your travel to the Access Framingham studios. And now, let me welcome Amy back to Travels with Jack.
Thanks,
Amy,
Jack.
welcome. I'm just going to read the viewing audience a little short biography. Amy Dane is from Longmeadow, Massachusetts, and is currently lecturing about her passion to travel. She has been to over 110 countries. That's almost more than Hillary went to. She is also...
But I got to spend more time in them than she did.
She is also a professional photographer and exhibits quite a bit of her travel art and different art and photographs and stories throughout the state at hospitals, libraries, and galleries, and has also been a photo award winner. Her website, www.amydaneadventures.com, lists her services that she offers as a travel agent. It lists the exhibits she's doing and other relevant information. I think she even has some of our Travels with Jack videos. Thank you. And all this makes her a very interesting and experienced travel agent. She's been married, same guy she tells me, for 31 years, and is the mother of 2 children. She joins us today to share with us her trip to Norway, and we will see some of her absolutely fabulous photographs, I'm sure, with explanations. Amy, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, my usual question. You decided I'm going to Norway.
Right.
How'd you go? How'd you get started?
Okay. Well, I was going with a friend who's a bit older, and I thought, I don't like cruises. I'm not a cruise person. I want to be on land. I want to be on the ground seeing things. I don't want to be on a ship. But I thought Norway was the one country that had to be done by ship because of the coastline.
Okay.
64,000 miles of coastline, which is pretty wild when you consider that the entire coastline of the United States is just over 95,000.
Oh,
so this is a beautiful...
But mostly cold water, am I right?
Yeah, but I didn't swim.
Okay.
I was enjoying it.
Okay, strictly for viewing.
So Norway is a great cruise place to go, and of course I spent time in Bergen at the beginning and Oslo at the end. So that was my run around town experience in between a very beautiful 2-week cruise.
And you flew out of where?
Well, it's very interesting.
Connecticut? Are you? No? Okay.
We flew Boston to Reykjavik, Iceland.
Oh, okay.
Which is really funny. It's too short to sleep.
Okay.
It's about a 4.5-hour flight, and oh, God forbid you want anything more than a glass of water. You'll have to pay for it. But in the meantime, 4.5 hours to get there. And
a low rate. Don't they fly pretty inexpensively?
Yes, they do.
Yep.
Yeah. But anyway, you get there, and you have already put yourself ahead 6 hours from here in 4.5 hours of flight. Then we had the short hop from Reykjavik to Bergen, and we had to turn the clock back 2 hours. So by the time we were in Norway, we were 4 hours ahead, not 6.
Okay. So that's how you got there.
That's how we got there.
You got to the airport in Norway, Taxi? How'd you get to the hotel? How'd you pick a hotel?
Yeah, we taxied. And how
Okay.
I picked a hotel was I took a Hurtigruten cruise, and they mentioned
Give
several.
me the name again.
Hurtigruten.
What can you
It's
tell me
a
about
mouthful.
them?
Well, we'll get to that later when we look
all
at
right.
the ships.
I want to know how you dug up this cruise line. All
but
right.
anyway, and we'll talk about the hotels when we get through
Okay.
to Bergen
Bill,
as well.
get me some photos.
So we'll start working with our pictures and see what we get.
There we go. There's a map.
And this shows you at least where we are. You see the big red arrow pointing
Yep.
to the long blue strip, which is Norway.
Okay.
And it touches on Sweden and Russia as well. And this is what Norway's all about.
Trolls.
This is your souvenir of choice. And it's really such a flashback from my past, because these are the toys we had as kids and that finally we put away, and they're still out there on the streets in any size. And I want you to know that trolls were actually wood carvers and they were metal workers, but when they made something for humans, they would put a curse on it.
Oh, okay.
And trolls didn't like noise, so the villagers would ring their church bells to keep them away.
Okay, so they were a little bit evil, you're
They were a little
saying.
bit evil, and they had a reputation for running off with people's wives and stealing children, too.
Oh, really?
Yes, just so you know.
Okay.
But this is your foremost souvenir, I think, in Norway.
I'm looking at the hairdos. I see that on a lot of young kids
Yeah,
today.
yep, that's true.
Okay.
And here I am with a troll, just good for me to have a picture with. So,
Okay.
And there's the Norwegian flag on a scarf.
Now I see Oslo Sweater Shop. Are they known for their sweaters?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
and,
they
and we'll
are.
have a picture of those in a window as well.
Okay.
And if, believe,
And the
that's the
Vikings.
next thing. You think of trolls and Vikings when you think of Norway. And of course, the Vikings were raiders and traders from the 9th to the 11th century.
And they were here in Massachusetts, if I'm not mistaken, the Vikings.
Were they?
Yeah, when I was a kid,
I know Canada.
remember we went to
Okay.
somewhere and they told us this is where the Vikings were.
Maybe.
Okay,
I don't
all
know.
right.
Good question. But, we all know those long-oared ships and
Yep.
and everything. So this is a better close-up of Norway. And as I had said before, they have 64,000 miles of coast.
Oh, so I didn't even realize this. So they border both with Sweden, I knew,
And with
but I
Russia
didn't
on
realize
top,
Finland
and a bit of
as well.
Finland. A bit of Finland.
A bit of
yes.
Finland.
Yes. And
And-
with all this, the area
Yeah.
of Norway is about 150,000 square miles, which is around the size of Montana, a little bigger than New Mexico, just to give you
And
an
what
idea.
is Briggen? Am I saying it
The
correctly?
Briggen. The
What is it?
Briggen.
Briggen.
The Briggen. Now,
The
I am
Briggen.
in my hotel, the
Yep.
Clarion Hotel, which I loved. And the view from the back of the hotel is this,
Oh.
across the water. And that part of town is the old medieval Hanseatic League establishment in Bergen. So, and the colors, the beautiful colors are just
Yeah.
fantastic. The Briggen had burned down from a fire, so the buildings we see today are from about 1702. They're not the medieval ones.
So they're still
They're still-
300 plus years old.
So the first thing we did was we got to our hotel, we dumped our bags, and we walked over to the Briggen for the afternoon, even though we were tired.
This was what month of the year?
July, beginning
so
of
you had
July,
warm
I want to
weather.
say. You only go to Norway in the summer.
Oh,
and,
really?
And let's discuss that warm weather. It isn't so warm.
Oh.
It can be plenty cold. It
What-
can be plenty cold,
meaning-
especially on a ship.
Meaning 40-degree weather?
It could, yeah,
oh,
it could be
so
cold.
they don't really get a summer.
No, not what we would consider
Okay.
summer.
Oh, I
All
didn't
right.
realize
Not
it was
what
that
we'd
cold.
consider. Yes, it was, and you need your layers for sure.
So they have a population, maybe what, 5-6 million people?
About over 5, just
Yeah,
over 5.
Just over 5.
Yep.
And the cold weather probably keeps people.
They're used to it. Well, they're very far north and it's cold, which is why Norway has such a big alcohol problem.
Oh.
But it turns out that there are state stores for alcohol called the
Yeah.
Vinmonopolet. And actually, the definition of a town in Norway is the size of its population and whether it has a Vinmonopolet, believe it or not. And I have to say, my friend and I like our wine, and we're cheap, so we like to have a bottle in the room or just not have to pay for it places or...
Amy, you're not supposed to tell the audience.
Yeah, I know, but I have to say, it was reasonable. And I thought the wine was just about the only reasonable thing in Norway to buy.
Oh, the food was expensive?
Oh, my God.
Even the fish? They're a huge fishing country.
Well, I mostly had my fish on the ship, but I have to say, off the ship, you can pay a fortune for dinner. You have to
Really?
really think hard. I think what we mostly did, we had breakfast at the hotel, and they were very big and wonderful. And as much as they discourage you making a sandwich for lunch, we did anyway.
Okay.
So that would fill us up, and we'd have a dinner. But dinner could cost
Really?
anything, even my Starbucks.
Did you like the food at dinner?
Well, we're going to see that too
Okay.
coming up. We're
All
going
right.
to talk about that food on the ship. So now where I'm taking you is inside the Stockfisk. It's actually called Stockfish. We are now inside of the Hanseatic League Museum. And the Hanseatic League was about 100 medieval towns, starting with Lubeck, who really covered the trading in Northern Europe from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea.
Okay.
And Bergen became part of this. And the big thing they did.
So what was it, like a free trade area?
Yes,
Oh,
it was
really?
trade. All these cities
And how
grouped
many years ago
together.
were you talking?
Medieval. They were from the 13th to the 17th century.
So then, at that time, they had
all these cities, they were like.
Really?
Yes. Oh, yes. They traded fur with Poland. They traded wheat and
You know what?
cotton with England. They traded beer from Russia. And remember, in those days, water wasn't sanitary.
So you're
they
telling
took
me-
about 3 liters of beer a day.
This was pre-Donald Trump, so they
Very
had
pre-Donald Trump. No, go back, please, Bill.
Really?
Bill, can you go back slides?
I
Not
didn't know
quite.
they-
Yes,
okay.
so I want to tell you about this stockfish because that's part of what they traded. Well, that's what they ate on the ships. This stuff was dry. They could keep it for 30 years.
Salted.
It's supposed to be eaten in 5 or 6 months. Very
Okay.
salted, 30 years.
Okay.
And you plump it up in water for 7 or 8 hours, and can you imagine being on a boat with that?
Okay.
Ugh.
That's interesting,
Yeah.
though, that they had a free
Yeah.
trade region.
They did. So inside the museum here, on the left, you see the apprentices' bunk. They would like open a little doorway, and 2 apprentices would sleep next to each other and shut their little door. And on the right, you see the beautiful picture, so that the merchants had much better accommodations. They
Oh, I
had
see. That's where
a bigger bunk of their own.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of nice. And then you can see how
Oh, isn't that
luxurious
beautiful?
this was. I mean, they were, paintings and fabrics.
This is what, a copy of a ship?
No, this is the League office. This
Oh,
was
the
the
office.
League office. Yes, they had the trading room. They slept here. They stayed here, and this was the office.
Oh, wow.
Which was quite
Look at
something.
the beautiful
And I have to
painting.
tell you about this coffer, the money chest. I have a Norwegian neighbor, and her mother was visiting from Norway, and I came with a few pictures, and when I showed them that one, she said, "Oh, yes, our family gave it to the museum."
Really?
Oh, I said, well, it turns out that 4 generations ago, her side of the family, who, by the way, is related to Rembrandt, they were the mercantile people that came and put Bergen on the map. And they were ship owners. And the father's side, 4 generations back, were shipbuilders.
Really?
And one of their relatives helped build the Fram, which you'll see soon in my slideshow.
So these are Norwegians that live with you, near you in Longmeadow?
This is my neighbor. Her parents are still in Norway, yes.
Really?
So the thing is, you have to ask your neighbors things, and you never know who their relatives are going to be. You just never know.
My neighbors, one of them is Serbians. I don't want to ask them too many
Don't
questions.
ask too many questions. And you just see how beautiful the Bregen is here.
Yes,
The
it looks
outdoor
beautiful.
cafes, that's so wonderful about
That
Europe.
reminds me a little bit of like Copenhagen in
Yeah,
the summer.
and whale meat
they
and
eat
all.
whale
yeah,
meat?
they do. They do, I guess.
Isn't that on
and
the
reindeer
endangered?
meat.
I would think
well, I
so.
guess up there you can, or
Okay.
or certain people can catch it. Certainly, the Sami people, who were their local
Natives. Oh,
population,
okay.
are reindeer herders, and they
Oh, and
can
you had king
do
crab.
what they like. We saw this big one on the right. It's
Yep.
amazing. I love pictures of food and seafood. And they're out on the street cooking and making all this beautiful seafood. And the fish markets in Bergen are to die for.
Oh, I'm sure, because that's what they're known for,
and it's
Norway.
beautiful
They have
to
beautiful.
look at them.
Look
and
at
I
the
just
beautiful
love
colors
this shot
they use.
up
Yeah.
the side of the hill, how beautiful that looks. Bergen is so picturesque. And it's a little town.
You said
it's
the
walkable.
food was expensive. Did you get a sense that they paid a lot of money for rent or for housing?
That I can't tell you, but I
Okay.
have a feeling I'm sure they did.
Really?
There's
So
nothing that comes cheap here.
So you'd say it was an expensive country?
Yes. And in fact, I think we talked to a bookseller in a bookstore, and It was something astronomical. I think that don't quote me, but I think their minimum wage was about $30 an hour.
Really?
I mean, their income is scaled to it, but it's an expensive place.
Well, because they do have a sovereign wealth fund, I believe, Norway. So they have, as a country, I think
They are a wealthy
country.
country. In the 1960s, they discovered gas and oil on their shore, which changed them from being mostly fishermen to really, and they have enough money that twice they have turned down the EU. They don't need it.
Yeah.
They don't need it. But I'd like to tell you something also of what happened in Bergen.
This looks like Maine.
It's beautiful.
A little bit, you know, out at a
very
lobster
quaint.
restaurant. Yep.
We went back to our hotel at the end of a beautiful afternoon, and we, as I said, left the luggage, and we went in and got the luggage, but my backpack, which had been put behind the desk in a little room, because the luggage room is already full, gone.
Stolen?
Gone. I have never had anything
Really?
stolen in all the years I've traveled. And you have to remember, always, always get a bag check. They were too busy to give you checks for your bags because the cruise ships are coming and going. What a mistake. So somebody else had picked mine up, traded it for another that looked like it. Later, we found out we got a call from another hotel.
Mistaken.
My bag was put and left in another hotel. This guy had a gig. So I got the bag. And I got my personal items like sunglasses, some medication. They stole my beautiful LL Bean raincoat, of course, which one needs, but they take all the electronic stuff.
So it was stolen. It wasn't an accident.
Oh, no. This guy had a gimmick. So the first thing you do if something's stolen, you have to document it if you want to go to your insurance company. You have to file a police report. And in Norway, that's simple. The next morning, we got up, we went, we were out of there in 10 minutes, done, signed and sealed. Good luck when you're in Spain, you'll have a problem. But very quickly, and of course in Norway, all the electronic things that were stolen, I could very easily replace, but boy, did they cost. And I did file a claim, and I did get my money back. But you must
from your U.S. homeowners
from my own insurance. No, I buy travel insurance.
Oh, this was through your travel insurance.
I always buy travel insurance. I use Travel Insured in Hartford. They're wonderful. I filed a couple of claims over my time and gotten paid.
And that covered you? So
well, it covered me for most of what I lost.
I won't take too long, I promise.
But travelers need to know this.
What else did they cover you for? If you have a medical emergency?
Oh, they'll cover, yes, depending on the type of coverage you buy.
Okay.
Repatriation, delayed baggage, delayed flights, whatever. But of course, you must read the fine print, but you must have travel insurance.
Yeah, I have something with American Express that's somewhat similar. I don't know if it's quite as good.
You can't be cavalier when it comes to this.
And fortunately, Norway, you don't have to worry. I have a friend who tells me it's now becoming very hard to get insurance for kidnapping, etc., in a lot of these countries. And
well, not Norway.
No, I say Norway.
But you're right.
Safe, but
no, you're right.
She said to me, Nigeria, you now have to, if you have kidnapping insurance, you also now have to have a bodyguard outside of your hotel room all night.
Terrific.
So insurance today for our viewers who are looking for international locations that maybe are a little bit
dicey,
good word, is not so readily available everywhere.
But even for any accidents, any health issues, any really serious delays and things.
I have a medical insurance that gives me immediate flight to what they call a decent hospital. God only knows when.
Medical evacuation.
Medical evacuation, yeah. Okay, so we're leaving what to me looks like Boothbay Harbor. And are we getting on, Bill? We're going shopping.
You asked for shopping. These are the sweaters.
Oh, okay.
Not my taste, but boy, are they expensive.
Really?
Very expensive, but you'll be happy to know that there is a flea market out in Bergen that's fun, and they sell all kinds of flea market-y things, but you can buy some nice...
This looks a little like the LL Bean of Norway.
Yes, very pricey.
Okay.
Also in Bergen, what's wonderful, you can take in this town called Flåbanen, and I don't know how that's pronounced, you can go up this funicular and get the most gorgeous view. So I took that from up top, watching the next train come up. It's a wonderful thing to do. They also have a great outdoor museum that's like a Sturbridge Village.
This
was not my ship.
Oh, okay.
But this is how we spell Hurtigruten. And Hurtigruten's history is very entwined with Norway as transportation, because in Norway, that coastline is equivalent to the Nile in Egypt.
Okay.
The coastline is how you get communication. Back in 1893, a man named Richard Wyeth started the first coastal steamer. And soon it became the company of Hurtigruten, who still has a ship called the Richard Wyeth, and they do Norway like nobody else.
Okay.
This is what they do.
Does that mean anything?
This is my ship, by the way.
Much better. Does that word mean anything, Hurtigruten?
Hurtigruten, when you, in Norway, yes. And
No, I mean, was it a family name?
I don't know what the
Okay,
name
the
means.
translation.
I don't know,
Okay.
but they are, yes. And in
So-
fact, they have their own museum in Stokmarknes.
Really?
Yes, and this was, my ship was the Finnmarken, and this was the first Finnmarken from 1956. You see the propeller there?
Yep.
And the museum was fantastic. I'm going to take you through it right now. We can go quickly. That was the kitchen.
Okay.
I love the way they put the little guy in it. And then we have the sitting area, lunch area back in the 50s. And we have the bridge and the office for the captain. And these were the bunks, the rooms. Now,
boy.
on the left was 56, and on the right is mine. And I don't get the feeling they were much more spacious.
No.
The blue sofa on my right pulled out for my friend's bed. And
So this is not what you really call luxury cruising.
well, no. It cost plenty, though.
Really?
Oh, sure.
Give me
But
an idea. What do you think it cost you?
I think a couple years ago it might have been in the 6,000s.
Really?
Yeah.
And this was for 2 weeks?
Yeah. We went up and down the coast.
Okay.
And
so that is.
Hurtigruten, they stop and they do deliveries and mail. There are people that get on and off.
I got you.
Local people too. We took the cruise both ways
Okay.
to have more maximum stops each way. And the stops are different.
So that is expensive
Yeah,
for a room.
and this is still in the museum. It shows on the left how people lounged on deck and how we do today. They had a pool up top, and some people did swim in it. And then the main thing with Hurtigruten is they don't do lectures, they don't do all that stuff. This is the observation deck.
Okay.
Everything is outside. They want you to look outside and just watch the gorgeous scenery. Very
Which it
little
is.
in the way.
Which it is.
So now you want to talk about food. Well, I have to tell you something. I always say, if you don't like fish, don't go to Norway.
Don't go to Norway.
And one of my audience interrupted and said, but if you do like fish, go to Norway.
Well,
so I
they
have
do
to read something
a
to you.
huge aquaculture business with salmon.
Oh,
Norway.
Yeah,
Huge.
but I want to read to you. My friend and I had to think, what fishes have we eaten on this boat?
Okay, go ahead.
Over the 2 weeks. This is what we counted. Mackerel,
Yep.
prawns, trout, salmon, cod, Arctic char, halibut, dogfish, whitefish, catfish, herring, white, orange, and black caviar, redfish, mussels, and king crab. And that's all that we could remember.
Herring morning, noon, and what? Midnight?
Well, fish is salty, so that leads me to the next slide. If you're going to be eating, oh, no, it doesn't actually, but this is the world's ugliest fish. That is the face of a monkfish. It's a huge fish. It actually tastes very good.
Very good.
Very good.
I think
But if you saw that face-
Very similar to Lot. L-O-T-T-E, I think.
I don't know that
A
one.
lot of French restaurants do a
Okay.
monkfish with a lobster cream sauce, which is
Well,
delicious.
at lunchtime, I would pick at the fish. Oh boy, this is salty. So I would go straight to the ice cream, and they always had ice cream. Now, I actually was served. At night, we had sit-down service. And I asked my waiter one night, I didn't like the dessert, and I said, would you please bring me lots of ice cream with lots of caramel sauce? And he said, you better know what you're asking for. So he brought me this bowl of 7, I can't count, tons of big scoops of ice cream, swimming in caramel sauce, and I ate it. I ate it all. And the next morning...
Now, wait, I'm looking at the fish. Was this like a fish ball, a fish canal?
No fish.
Oh,
it
that
was
all
ice cream.
Ice
All
cream,
ice
okay.
cream. So,
How were the fish recipes? Did you like some of them?
some of them,
Some of them, okay. The king crab had to be good.
fabulous.
Fabulous.
Most of the fish was.
Yeah. I love fish and seafood.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do too.
Yeah.
Hurtigruten promises you, this is a catalog they give you to keep on the ship, and they ask that you read it and do your homework. Don't ask dumb questions if the answer's in the book.
Okay.
Okay, they promise you the world's most beautiful voyage. And I want to tell you, sometimes it's going to look like this. You don't always get good weather. You're far north. It will rain, and it will rain like this on a beautiful day, and then it will stop. It's like being in England. So my friend and I took a selfie here in these crazy fisherman's hats called Sid vests, and they're designed to keep the rain off your face and off your neck. They're wonderful, but you will get rain, and you must be prepared for it. Don't look out the window and think you don't need your raincoat and your umbrella, because you do. It rains. It rains. And this is one of the most beautiful scenic things in Norway, the Geringer Fjord, and this is my Geringer Fjord. It just was not a good day, and it was too bad that on this particular day we had bad weather. And you can get the sense of how beautiful. So then we continued to another town.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
Did this cruise line offer you a more, not you personally, but did they have a larger suite available?
Oh, sure.
Oh, they did?
Oh,
Okay.
yes, of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Well, no, I don't know.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So there were bigger rooms
Yes.
available, cabins.
Yes, I could have stayed in a magnificent suite if I traveled less, put it that way. But yes, it's available.
Okay.
So the next little town we couldn't see before our eyes. We were supposed to be seeing beautiful waterfalls in this town, and we saw nothing. All I could get was the little mosses and the way people like to stack up rocks. Believe it or not.
What is this?
This poor bride and her husband
Really?
had their wedding reception right there in a beautiful building, and they just said, forget it. We're going to enjoy our wedding day. They got out, they got in the water. Look at her, lifting her dress. She just said, this is my day, and we're going to do it. And we just had such fun watching them.
These are Norwegians, I'm assuming.
Such fun. There she is going back into her reception. Nothing's going to stop it. It's the way it goes. And that's just the kind of attitude they have. You know, they're practical. And now I want to just show you some architecture in Norway, because it's quite innovative and interesting back from early times.
I already love the colors of the building.
Beautiful.
Yes.
So this one is a very early kind of a church, a medieval church called a stave church. And the staves are related to that wooden pole that sort of holds up the building.
Oh, okay.
It's very interesting from the outside, isn't it? And there used to be tons of them in the north of Europe. And inside it looks like this. You've got the altar, and then more pictures inside.
And I think they are what?
Except you see how
a Protestant country
Lutheran,
versus
very,
Catholic.
very, very Protestant.
Yes.
Lutheran. Yep. And this is the inside of this little church, which shows you that it's very hard to take a picture with so many tourists. And this was the little baptistry in the back that was added in the 1600s. So there's wonderful things.
You found there were a lot of tourists on this trip? In Norway? Did you get us?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so they do get a big tourist?
Sure they do. This is another kind of a church that is really neat.
Yeah.
You can see it's elevated on stone, which many were. My friend is in the front in her raincoat, and now you're looking at the back on the other side. And inside, it was really painted in beautiful colors. You can't really see the angles in the roof this way.
Very Russian Orthodox.
Well, it's just beautiful. You have Adam and Eve on the left slide in the lower right corner, and then in the right slide you've got the visitation.
Did you have tour guides when you got off the ship and you went to a town like this?
Actually, this one, we were on our own. This is in that little outdoor museum.
Did you have an opportunity for tour guides at the different stops?
Yes, you will.
Did?
You
Okay.
will. This is a place we did on our own, and we had a ball.
Because a person like me, I always try to have a tour guide because I don't know what's going on. You know
Well,
what I
we
mean.
read, we bring books. Now we're into medieval architecture, and actually High Gothic at this point in Trondheim, which is a beautiful big city. And it was once considered, Trondheim, a major pilgrimage route stop. I didn't know that.
What do you mean? You mean people from
like
England
people go
and
to
stuff?
Santiago, people travel to Trondheim.
Yes. Oh, really?
And if you back up for a minute, Bill, I just want to make, to tell you something, and it gets into the experience of Norway during the Second World War. In 1942, in this church, the clergy got up on Easter Sunday and announced that they refused to teach Nazi doctrine, which they were asked to do, and most of the clergy in Norway stepped down. Now, Norway was occupied from 40 to 45, and they had great resistance, the Malorg, and they had a horrible collaborator who happened to name himself prime minister very soon after. He just appointed himself prime minister and started collaborating, and he wanted to institute an old law In 1851, Article 2 of the Constitution banned
How
Jews.
do you remember this? You're not even reading.
Banned Jews from entering the country. Norway. I was
Norway.
surprised. And that ended in 1851. So it lasted a while, but Quisling, this prime minister, reinstated that law, and within 6 months, people were getting deported. And of course, they left on the Donau and another ship, the Gotland. About a third of Norway's Jews were lost. But not only that, locals were incarcerated in a prison called Grini right near their castle, the Akershus, and many of them died in that castle. Norwegians were really suffering under the Nazis, big time. And the teachers refused to teach the doctrine, and so did the clergy. Milorg was trained in Scotland. The Norwegian king was exiled in Britain. And it was a happy day when all that ended.
Oh, so they had a king up through.
Yes, they did.
World.
Exiled.
Now, did they have a king after the war? Was the
I don't
king,
think
you don't
so,
think
but
so?
I don't know. But this will show you some nice modern
Because I
architecture.
know Sweden still has a queen, and
They do. I don't know, honestly.
Okay, that's all right.
But this is a beautiful, interesting, very modern church. It just, we've gone now from Gothic to modern, and isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Very interesting. And this is neat because this is
look at
a
that.
museum. We didn't go in it, but the architecture is meant to resemble ice flows. Okay? The Polar Museum, ice flows.
Yeah,
and
no, it
that's not the only museum that invokes the ocean. This is the highlight of Norway for me, the Oslo Opera House.
It looks
Now,
magnificent.
there is a lot of construction going on around there because they're going to make that waterfront area nicer and bigger. This building is state of the art. It was built by a Norwegian firm, Snøhetta, finished only, I think, 2000 and something. It's not old. It's lots of glass, and if you notice, there are all these slopes.
Yes.
And people can walk all over the building. Up the ramps, they can sit on top. They have audiences and do concerts outside even. So people are meant to use this building, inside and out. It is gorgeous. Inside, it's all oak. And you see that big round structure.
This is the interior.
This is the interior. It's a
Wow.
big marble floor.
Wow.
Okay, big marble floor. And this shows you an encasement of oak that contains one of 3 auditoriums, the main one. The acoustics are fantastic. Look at the oak in those corridors. This is gorgeous. Absolutely. This is the inside. You're not allowed to take a picture, so I got that picture off the internet. That ball of chandelier has 5,800 crystals. The auditorium can seat 1,400, perfect acoustics. But what's really nice, for every single performance, they withhold 100 tickets. And they sell them first come, first serve, very cheaply, so that anybody has a chance to be able to go. And I think that's fabulous.
Beautiful.
And this is, looking out. The outside comes in. The building wants to be part of its environment. And the sun comes in. And this is very interesting. On the left, you see a sculpture that floats in the water.
Oh,
it's actually part of the opera building, but it's a sculpture. And it's a glacier. And it takes its inspiration from the German Romantic painting on the right, Caspar David Friedrich's painting of a glacier. So that's really nice, isn't it? You see this.
No, the building was
the
gorgeous.
building, but then you see this thing floating around the harbor too. The building is gorgeous. People rollerblade up there. Now, certainly infrastructure is very important in a country like this. Aside from the water, you've got mountains. Mountains need tunnels. So you've got huge, long tunnels. And in fact, we trained from Bergen to Oslo, which is considered the most beautiful trip in Norway. And it is, except for the part where you're inside the tunnels. Another thing they have is what's called the Atlantic Road. It's 8 miles or 8 kilometers of 8 connected bridges. And it's really neat. Look, you can see how interesting some of them are. And it even won an engineering competition in 2005. It's known worldwide, and it was really interesting.
This is what, in a museum also?
This is now in a subway, because when you
subway.
get out to see the Munch Museum, this is what you see in the subway. Now, Norway has 2 native sons when it comes to art, Munch and Vigeland. And now for a minute we'll talk about Munch. And of course, Grieg for music, Edvard Grieg. So this is Edvard Munch, who was a Norwegian, born in the 1860s. Continue. And he had a very hard...
Oh, I know that painting on the left.
Well, this isn't the Scream.
Yeah.
It's different, but it shows you that sense of alienation.
Oh, is that what I'm thinking of, the Scream?
Yes, you are, and we'll come to that. And on the right is his Johannstrasse, showing, people that look like ghosts on an empty street. He had a miserable life. His little sister died of TB at 15. His mother died of TB. Another sister was institutionalized for mental illness. His only brother died of something else, pneumonia, I think. And Grieg, of course, himself later down the road would have breakdowns and be institutionalized as well. But he was quite an artist. He also had problems with women. He had love affairs gone wrong. And you see...
Is that why he turned one of them into a skeleton?
See? Well, she's like a vampire. You see the painting where she's literally sucking his blood. She's sucking the life out of him. And this is Munch. He got it all out with his paintings, etchings, woodcuts. Very talented. And some of the work I was happy to see was very bright. Now, we all know the Scream because we have it on shower curtains, we have it on mouse pads, and anything else. There are actually 4 versions of it.
Oh, really? Okay.
2 in Bergen, 1 in Oslo. Yeah. And the 4th one sold at Sotheby's, I think in 2009, for over $119 million.
Really?
I may have the year wrong, but I don't have the price wrong. It was unbelievable. Record unbelievable. Now we go to the next native son, who's a much happier type, and he did sculpture. And for some reason, the state loved him, and they built him a studio so he could work on this huge, huge park in Oslo called the Vigeland Park. And it's immense. So now we're going to take a little walk through the park, and believe you me, if you're going to really walk this park, you need to be in shape. So you walk in through these beautiful wrought iron gates.
This looks almost like the Swan Boat Bridge in Boston on the right, doesn't it?
I could say that.
Yeah.
It's a very sweet bridge, and you go through these iron rod gates, and you go over that bridge lined with sculptures like this.
These are great.
Well, the famous one is that crying baby. Baby looks like he's having a fit. And there are people that love this stuff. I personally, I'm not so fond.
Okay.
So we walk over the bridge
I like
now.
it.
You like it.
Reminds me a little of Batera there.
Well, it's all about life and happiness. And so you walk, and you finally get to this. We get to a fountain, but you're not done. We're going to keep walking now. So we finally get to this monolith that's over 50 feet high. It's got like 112 figures spiraling up the monolith and over 36 major groupings around it. And you think, oh, this is it. No, it isn't. You've got to walk around this, look at the stuff, and keep going. And finally now I'm looking back on the monolith from the top. Or I think maybe, or am I on the monolith spot? I'm not even sure. But finally, you get to the top where you see the Wheel of Life.
Oh, wow.
And that's finally the top. But believe me, you have walked and climbed steps and everything else. And of all weird things, when you walk around this park, in a clearing, you will find a statue of Abraham Lincoln, a bust of Abraham Lincoln.
Now, again, you just
Which I
did
didn't
this
know.
on
Somebody
your
told
own?
me.
Or
We
you
did
had
this on our own. We ran around Oslo like idiots
You
for
did
4
not have a
days.
guide?
We did not. We did not.
If you were sending me, would you say, Jack, get a guide?
Depends on the person. Depends on the
Okay.
person. I love museums, and I know what I'm looking at, and I wanted to do that. We walked around the waterfront area. We didn't need a guide.
You really didn't? Okay.
No, we went to the castle, which has lots of explanations on its exhibits.
Are we going to see the castle in these photos?
No, you
Tell me,
won't
the
see the
castle was
castle.
what, where the king lived?
I don't know. It's a medieval castle.
Okay. And you liked it?
And now it has exhibits.
Okay.
Liked it very much. And a big theme in there of exhibit is Norway during World War II.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. So my highlight was we took this excursion from the ship to the Vega Archipelago, which is a gorgeous area of water filled with 6,500 islands and islets and skerries, only 59 of which are inhabited. And it was freezing on the boat, but you can see how gorgeous the day. And people would say to me, why are so many houses in red paint? Well, the answer was, it was cheap. And yellow was a bit more expensive.
Okay.
But white was expensive.
Really?
Yes. So some houses, if you wanted to keep up with the Joneses, might paint a white front and then red for the other sides that didn't show on the street.
Really, there was a big difference in prices of paint.
I guess so. But boy, I love the red. And we had a guide in this little museum about eiderdown. And there she is wearing one of those famous sweaters. And she told us that the men were fishermen. They were always away in the Lofoten Islands. So the women stayed home and did the farming, and they had to be tough as nails. And she told us her grandmother's story. She said, my grandmother had 12 children, 2 pigs and a cow, or something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how she got 12 children when the men were never home, but she did. And the children had to go to different islands where the teacher would be. The teacher would roam around and teach them, and they would bring their sheets and their silverware. Life is very basic, and they still are fishermen here. So we learned about the eiderdown process. And the ducks come, and they build these cute little shelters for them. They want the ducks to be happy and homey, and the mother duck will pull feathers from her breast to line the nest for the babies.
Okay.
Yeah. They give birth in May, June, but there are predators here. So there's a raven on the left, and you see in front of him a shiny glass ball, because that will scare the raven away. He'll see his reflection and leave. But if somebody wants to take something, so one of the predators, they put out these wooden eggs, dummy eggs, so that the predator could walk off with something. That's how much the villagers take care of these little duckies. And eiderdown really clumps up.
You told me originally you didn't get too much of a chance to talk to too many villagers.
Not too many.
But they sound like they're a very
nice. Friendly. Everybody in Norway speaks English. They're helpful.
Oh, they do all speak English?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Go back to my eiderdown. Yeah. Do you see how it clumps up?
Yes.
It just clumps up. And that's how they clean it. And I should have one last picture. Do I? Yeah. There he is, this man just lying in fluff of this eiderdown.
And this is down that they would put into comforters.
And here we are with the comforter, and apparently it takes 60 to 70 nests to get enough down to make a Norwegian comforter like
Really?
this. That's how much. So now you know why down is expensive. And down is the warmest thing we have still today. Better than any synthetic or anything else.
Am I thinking,
Pure down.
I thought down
eiderdown
had to do with the feathers of the birds. No?
Well, it's the kind of bird feathers, I guess.
Oh, it is bird feathers.
This is what it is. But it's the eider duck feathers.
Oh, the eider. That's
Eider
the name
is
of the
duck.
Okay. I remember seeing. I was in a factory.
Oh, I did miss something about the ship. I have to
where
share.
I had chicken feathers, I think they used, and they pulled out the hard part of the feather, so all you had was the
fluffy part.
The fluffy part.
Well, nobody wants a stick poking through.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
They removed the sticks, and then I think they had to run it in. They had to wash it all, and then they spun it.
Oh.
So that it really was going to be clean and very fluffy. And then they would use it to create pillows and fillings.
But, you know, we talk about the people. Now, the temperament is very Germanic here.
Okay.
Now, on the ship, granted it's a cruise ship, but I have to tell you how funny this is. When you board the ship, you will swipe your card in and you will be squirted with sanitizer.
Okay.
And the same thing happens in the dining room. And they're very picky about cleanliness. Is definitely next to godliness. So I want you to know that when you go into the ladies' room or men's room, there will be in 45 languages, literally a sign in the bathroom. When to wash your hands. Before, touching your hand to your mouth, including eating and drinking, smoking, brushing your teeth, or helping a sick person. And after, going to the bathroom, changing diapers, touching all kinds of surfaces, and helping a sick person or blowing your nose. How to wash your hands.
Oh, they tell you how to wash your hands.
Step 1, wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, apply a generous amount of soap. 3, rub hands together for 20 seconds. 4, rinse hands. 5, dry hands with paper towel. If not available, say you're on an excursion, there's no water, Use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with 62% ethanol, preferably in gel form. Now, think about it. If you haven't learned to wash your hands by now, do you think those signs in the bathroom are really going to help?
You know, it could be a government regulation that
But
makes
that
them put
also,
it there.
it's the mentality. They're very, very precise, and they didn't like on the ship if you asked dumb questions, if it was something you should have read in the literature they gave
It
you.
sounds to me like they picked on you with a couple of questions.
But, you know, they're
What'd they say? Amy, you didn't read the book?
well, at one point, one of the women did sort of.
Really?
Yeah, she said, do your homework. She did. She said to me, do your homework. But I don't want to make it sound unpleasant at all. In fact, everything runs smoothly. Everything is clean. It's so easy. It's easy.
Oh, your video. Okay, we're going to see a quick video. Bill, you're going to start the video? Oh, here we go.
And this is something that I actually have on my YouTube site set to music. And just some pictures of things I liked. The olden times, look at the women smoking the pipe and the Sami reindeer people. Life was fascinating way back when. I love these old pictures. And you think how easy we have it today.
Well, these remind me also of Finland always had the reindeer.
Look at the Eskimo guy,
Yeah.
you know? Everything cold, cold all the time.
Yeah.
But they have a wonderful heritage. I love this. This is also an outdoor museum in Oslo. And look, the buildings are stunning, and the artwork inside. Look at these
This
buildings.
looks a little bit like
And
that.
I love
you
the way-
picture Hansel and Gretel.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Look at the way the grass grows on the roof. This is common, and that's something I just love. The
Well,
grass
that
growing on the
becomes
roof.
like an insulation.
Yep, sure
Yeah.
it does. No question. But
Look
look
at
at
the
these
beautiful
beautiful
painted
things.
furniture.
These are things from the Viking Museum in Oslo. They have a beautiful Viking museum. Oh, and the Fram also, the polar expedition ship. This is the Fram. Amundsen took it up through the Northwest Passage and down to the South Pole. And this is the one that my friend's family worked on.
Really?
The shipbuilders. That's the Fram. And the Viking Museum is amazing. They found 3, this is still the Fram, I think, but they found 3 Viking ships buried in the south of Norway, and now they're digging them up. This is when they excavated them from ritual burial mounds. They believed in an afterlife, so they would bury with things.
Oh.
And so here's, this one isn't in such good shape, but there are 3 ships. Look at that. Look at that. 3 ships in here. Look at that.
What did you
Stunning.
find other than fishing seemed to be their big business there?
Well, it's the industry, the oil.
The oil.
Yeah.
So that brings them a lot of wealth and
Yes.
employment.
Yes, they're very well off. And everything is just so fresh and so nice, you know, fresh berries. These are the beautiful Viking carvings. They even
Looked
had a
very
sleigh.
Asian. Looked
well,
very
yeah,
Asian,
they're,
didn't it?
Asian? No, I wouldn't have said. But I can something like that, no. This was a sleigh, but they don't know what it was used for. And then, of course, there's another spot where you can take a bus to a peninsula in Oslo, and you can see 3 museums together. And one of them is Thor Heyerdahl's museum. You remember the Kon-Tiki?
Yes.
This is the Kon-Tiki, and then there's the Ra, too. And they're just fascinating to see. And the signage
And the
is
Kon-Tiki
wonderful.
was that book was what? Written by a Norwegian.
Yeah, Thor Heyerdahl.
Really?
Yeah, and there are 2 other museums there as well. And this just shows you the gorgeous, gorgeous scenery. And there are plenty of good days, as you see, but you know, you also don't have such good days.
Oh, this is what?
This is cruising around. This is the kind of pictures you take from the boat, from the ship.
It reminds me of New England.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, but so beautiful. And especially when the weather cooperates. I love that.
Now, what about the sunlight? Did you find you had sun till 10 at night and
Yeah,
stuff?
lots of sun. Lots of sun. Look at that fjord.
Yes.
Just look at that. Stunning. And this is why you can see Hurtigruten really focuses on what's outside of the boat. I took a nice tour of this town. They had a bicycle race going on. That was neat.
Did they talk politics to you at all? Did they seem satisfied? No.
We didn't talk politics.
No, okay.
There's the bike. Everybody came out for this bike race. It was really great. And all the kids are cheering and waving the flags. And there come the bikers. So that was kind of nice.
Absolutely.
It just is so pretty. And you don't get tired of it. You really don't. And puffins, I just love puffins. And you get those up way up
in
north.
Maine.
Yeah, well, the further north you go,
Yeah.
the birds are fantastic. And we actually had a bird trip we took, some of us, just for birds. And the boat people, the people that ran it, the staff, couldn't tell us enough how lucky we were to have a beautiful day. They said this was the first beautiful day in a month.
Oh,
So
really?
there's an eagle. We were lucky. We saw all these things on this, and it was just beautiful. That's natural. It looks like almost an oil slick, but it's not. It's just the way the sun hit. And of course, you've got your reindeer. Yep. This is very, very narrow fjord. And you can see, I'm telling you, there was barely an inch on either side of what you saw. And I don't know how they do that, but they do. I think this is way up north in Kirkenes, which was our northernmost point. And the foliage is
Did they
beautiful.
talk about any agriculture? I mean, it seems like it's so cold all winter. I don't know what they have for...
Well, they do grow things.
They do.
I mean, they have loads of berries and things.
Oh, okay.
Great jams made from those berries, I
Probably
will say. They have lots of
lingonberries.
cheese.
Lingonberries.
I like that too.
A lot of dairy.
The old fishing ships, you
A
know.
lot of dairy. Okay.
And
That
this
would
is-
make sense.
Yeah. Vegetables, actually, I don't know. And we had plenty, but I'm sure they must grow them. I don't know. This is just, you can see the little fishing villages, how beautiful they are. You know, you've got to really want to have a peaceful trip, because on the boat it is very peaceful, and you can do as many that now we're in Oslo, and that is looking up to the castle in Oslo. You can do as much or as little as you want on the ship.
This is Oslo we're looking
Yes,
at? Okay.
yes, and this is on top now of the Opera House. Okay, people just hang on it. There's your view of the castle from the other side, and this is the new walkway with all nice modern shops and restaurants and the new modern art
looks
museum.
beautiful.
This is my view out my bedroom window in Oslo, and it's great. Now we're back to some birds. But you know, on a ship, you can take an excursion or not. You can do as little or as much as you want, enjoy the scenery as much as you want. You know, we chose to do that, and then, you know, had our culture in the cities on either end. So we fit it all in, I think.
How much research did you find you had to do before you took the trip? Did you spend a lot of time researching?
I spent time really on the cities and planning on what I wanted to do in the cities.
Oh, I missed
yes,
it.
and there's some story about this mountain with a big hole in it. As you go around, there's this huge hole in it, and it's a long story, and I forgot it. There's always a story, you know. Must have had to do with trolls. Look at the roads, the curvy, curvy roads. Their infrastructure is amazing, just amazing. But I really spent time on Oslo. There's so much to do in Oslo and Bergen. Bergen is everyone's favorite. Do not go to Norway without spending time in Bergen. The one thing I wished we had time for was to go out to Edvard Grieg's house, which is apparently beautiful with beautiful grounds, and they'll give you Grieg music. And we didn't sign up in time, so that was our loss. But this was all, the ship was really a lot of scenery. And but we got off. We went to local churches and talked to people there.
This is
in Trondheim. Some girls were in the park, probably dressed up for something. I don't know. Isn't that great, though?
Fabulous.
You know,
this was a great trip.
Everything. You can take or leave it, but it's all there for you to take.
Did it surprise you how nice it was?
I think I expected it to be nice.
You did?
I really did. I didn't realize that Bergen was so special.
I don't know. I got a sense from our chat today that you kind of were very pleasantly surprised that it was so clean and so scenic.
Well, I think I might have been surprised. Which gave me the feeling that maybe before you went, you weren't expecting it to be quite as nice as it was. I guess I didn't expect that personally, for me who's not a cruiser, that I would enjoy this kind of vacation. I think pretty much that. I was wondering if I'd go nuts. and I didn't go nuts. Certainly you can walk around the deck if you like. You can get enough exercise, and you can certainly get off the ship plenty too. And there's always things to see when you get off the ship and take excursions.
It looks very
yeah,
lovely.
Yeah. The northern countries in Europe are clean, they are expensive, they always have been, but they run well.
The
south of Italy was always
in Finland.
Right,
I loved
right.
Finland. Sweden had very beautiful. Stockholm was lovely, but I remember, and I haven't been to Sweden in many years, but I remember it just seemed like a typical big city in Stockholm.
I have not been to Sweden. Would you believe
Copenhagen did not, but I have never been to Norway.
Well,
and
neither
it looks
had I.
like something to see.
It is, and you'd get so much history. I had no idea about their World War II experience, and that played a big part of this trip, I think, also, because they have many museums. In fact, the most wonderful thing of all is that Quisling's gorgeous home is now the Holocaust Museum.
Oh, my God.
And
Amy, I'm going to have to finish our visit, but thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
And we're going to bring you back. You might share India with us,
That'd be great.
which would be
That'd be
I
fun.
always love having you as a guest because you really, I don't know, you do a trip so well and you're so knowledgeable and my goodness.
I enjoy
you
it.
don't even
I
have
enjoy
to read your
it.
notes. I have to write everything
Well,
down.
I couldn't memorize all the fish, and I had to read you that bathroom sign because I've just never seen one like that before. From nursery school to cruises.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.